Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on? I am Dr. Boyce Watkins, your friendly neighborhood finance professor, and I want to say hello and welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. I am now letting people know on Instagram that we're about to go live. My Instagram is the real Boyce Watkins. So if you like intelligent conversations that may challenge your thinking, then I encourage you to go to the real Boyce Watkins and hang out with us. We're not typical. We're not Negroidians. We're not typical people here in the sense that our goal is to actually solve a problem, not just complain about it. Our goal is to actually make progress, not just pretend like we made progress. Our goal is not to be white supremacists. We don't believe that being closer to white people makes us better human beings, or being accepted by white people makes us better. We don't hate white people, though. We're not sitting around mad about what white people did. We're just here to create progress for the Black community. We believe in what is called the hashtag B1, the B1 philosophy. B1 just means that you're Black first. B1 means that you put the Black community's interests above everybody else. B1 means that we understand we must be one to be successful. B1 means that you matter. That the Black agenda is something that is very important. It's something that should be pursued by all of us. It is something that we should demand and command from everybody. It means that we are woke. So if you are in this category and you agree with what I just said, please type a hashtag B1 in the chat. Hashtag B1 just means that we're on the same page, so that at least we can have a conversation, because I don't want to have a stupid conversation. I don't want to have a Lord, thank you, Jesus, that we got another Black person elected conversation. Not because I don't think that's important. Not because I'm not congratulating Raphael Warnock. I think Raphael Warnock is a smart Black man. I looked him up. I said, okay, Mr. Warnock, I'm impressed with you, brother. Stacey Abrams. God bless her. Stacey Abrams saved America. I think that's wonderful for her. Congratulations, Stacey Abrams. Congratulations. I saw a lot of HBCUs and graduates. Shout out to the HBCU grads. I love you too. I wanted to go to an HBCU, but you know why I couldn't go to an HBCU? When I came out of high school, I couldn't afford it. I didn't have any money to go to college. Nobody wanted me. I was a D student and I didn't have any money. So I was both broke and ignorant. And so that's why I couldn't go to an HBCU. I didn't have enough Black excellence in my bones to even qualify at the time. And then later on, when I became a faculty member at Syracuse University, I got my stuff together. I had a baby. And after I had my baby, I decided I was actually going to put as much energy into academics as I put into sports. And at that point, I became a superstar. I was the #1 ranked student coming out of college. I had a triple major, and I even got 2 bachelor's degrees in 4 years. So that's just me bragging, a shameless brag a little bit. But forgive me for that. But anyway, I wanted to teach at an HBCU. When I was at Syracuse, I really wanted to do that. And the problem I ran into is this. A lot of HBCUs that I spoke with Howard, where I went to do the job interview. I got interviewed by a Chinese man. I remember that. I never forget that. I thought, this is so fascinating that this school has all these African-American young students that will listen to a guy like me. But I got to convince this Chinese guy that I should be allowed to talk to Black people. I said, something's wrong with this, but this don't make sense. This doesn't add up. This does not compute. And so Howard didn't work out too well. And then I also talked to some people at, I think it was North Carolina Central. And when I went to North Carolina Central, one fascinating thing about that school was in the entire business school, pay attention now, the whole business school had 0 African-American male faculty members in the entire business school. They're talking about dozens of faculty members. At that time, they had 0 African-American male professors in the entire business school. Give me a yes or no if you think that's a little bit weird. I'm not complaining. I'm not dissing. This is not a diss. This is me just telling my story, telling my truth, right? So tell me if I'm a little bit crazy or what. But I think that's a little weird. Give me a yes in the chat if you think that's a little bit strange that an HBCU at that time, again, this was at that time. I hope it's changed since then. You can go look at the data. If the data has changed, please email me. Please tell me, because I don't want to be out here saying things that aren't true. And then I spoke to another faculty member, senior faculty member, about possibly going to Prairie View. And I was willing to take a pay cut. I literally said, at that time at Syracuse, I was making about $115,000 a year, which at that time was above the market for what HBCUs paid. And I was willing to take a pay cut. I kid you not. I was like, you know what? I will do more work for half the salary. That's how crazy I was. I was like, I want to be at a HBCU so bad that I will do double the work for half of the pay. And the reason I couldn't go to Prairie View was, and this was fascinating. This is, I kid you not, I put it on the stack of Bibles. This is what happened. She said, well, now at this time, my public scholarship career was just beginning. That was when I'd written my first book and I was trying to get my name out there. Nobody knew who I was. Nobody cared. Maybe you shouldn't even care now. Who knows? Some people care, and I appreciate that. But maybe you don't have to care. It's okay. And I just written my first book. And I was trying to really get out there and really do something for Black folks. I swear to God, I was going on CNN, go check the record. I was on CNN, getting in trouble, getting all these arguments with the racist Republicans. Because at that time, I thought the Republicans were the only racists out here. I didn't know the Democratic Party had so much racism in its system. You have to get a little bit more mature politically to really start to see that. And so one thing that this faculty member said, I kid you not, is she said, well, in order for you to teach here, you can't do all this extra stuff that you're doing because that's going to make some people upset. That might make some people nervous or make them jealous. And I was like, so you mean like if I'm trying to go out here and really shine, like I got to dim my light because you lazy and you scared to go and really fight for Black folks. I got to sit back and be shy and scared and meek just like you. Is that what you're trying to tell me? That to make you more comfortable, I got to shrink down who I am because I'm big. I'm trying to blow up in this. I'm not personally, not for ego reasons, but because I believe to the core of my soul that I have something important to say. And I believe to the core of my soul that Black people could benefit from it. Right. I had a PhD. I was very, very smart. I studied really, really hard all through school, harder than other PhD students. Like I was very serious. So I said, I really want Black people to learn about wealth. I really want Black people to understand justice and strength and power. So why I got to be quiet? Just to make you comfortable. Your little tiny ass sitting down the hall, jealous and hating and mad, right? Why don't you partner with me? Why don't we work together and go change the world together? Why you got to be scared? So that was my little experience there, where I realized that a big Black man, and I say big Black man meaning not just physically big. I am a kind of bulky, I was a football player, but a big Black man in terms of energy and what I was radiating was too big for small confined spaces. And I could not do well. I did not do well around people that were afraid of white people, because I was never scared of white people. I could not do well around Black people who were scared to challenge the status quo. And so that's when I realized, if you're going to talk all this craziness, boys, you got to have your own space, your own platform, so you can shine your light as bright as you want it to be, and can't nobody stop you. So that's my journey. So that was my experience with HBCUs, and it made me sad because I really wanted to teach at an HBCU, but instead I had to start one. So we started the Black Business School. We have over 130,000 students around the world. They learn more about Black wealth and Black economic strength through the Black Business School than they ever learned at almost any university that they've ever taught at, primarily because we focus on the things that Black people need. We focus on putting Black people first. Why do I bring this up? Well, I bring this up because this is where we have to talk about what's going on right now in the Black community, particularly with regard to the Senate or this Georgia Senate runoff. A lot of people are very excited for good reason, because Raphael Warnock was able to defeat Kelly Loeffler, this really rich white lady. I think this lady has like $500 million in her net worth. I mean, some ridiculous amount of money. It's kind of crazy. And so anyway, so they had this runoff, and Warnock won. Right. So I thought that was great for the people that really got behind this. I think he's the pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church. I think that's where Dr. King used to preach. He's a Morehouse man. You couldn't be prouder. Right. Good for him. Good for him. Good for him. And then also I see other memes with Stacey Abrams, and Stacey Abrams is getting credit right now for not just saving Georgia, not just saving the Democratic Party. She's getting credit for saving America. So they're putting pictures of Stacey Abrams up and saying she saved America. How great is that? Now, here's the thing. I don't disagree with you at all. I think Stacey Abrams did save America. I do agree that Black folks have more common sense than almost everybody else. I agree that these people worked extremely hard. I agree that there is a reason to be very proud for them and happy for them for their accomplishments. So while I will definitely say that we should be happy for them for what they accomplished for their families, I think the next logical question should always be, what's in it for us? What's in it for the rest of us? I don't think this is a radical question. I don't think this is an unfair question. I'm not sitting here trying to be a hater. This is just what you should be naturally asking. So when somebody says, Lord Jesus, thank you, Jesus, Stacey Abrams saved America, I turn and I say, okay, now when's America going to come save us? right? When we gonna get our check, boss? When we gonna get paid, right? So ain't nothing wrong with Stacey Abrams saving America. For all I care, she can get credit for saving the whole solar system. She can get credit for saving Jupiter and Mars and Saturn and saving the whole galaxy. Let's just give her the props. She's a superhero. Stacey Abrams saved the entire Milky Way galaxy. Let's give her props on that. But at that point, I just want to know, where does the reciprocity kick in? Where's the quid pro quo, right? When we gonna start talking about those reparations that you owe black people for all the times that we've saved white people? I mean, think about this. Black people are fascinating. We are wonderful people, by the way. I think black people are wonderful. Let me just tell you why. We are probably the only people on earth who will proudly save people who hate our guts. We will brag to each other about how we save people who have dedicated their entire lives to destroying us at every available opportunity. Like we will. I mean, just we are very proud. Like we're like, we got Joe Biden into office, and I'm like, and Joe Biden got y'all into prison. Yeah, right. Am I crazy? Give me a yes or no, please. Tell me, am I being a terrible black man by saying that don't make no damn sense? That literally, I mean, has anybody ever talked to somebody who went to prison? Give me a yes or no if you got a relative or a friend who's gone to the penitentiary. I call them the concentration camps because they're torture chambers, right? Anybody know anybody who went to prison and seen how it messes them up in the head because it's such a terrible place? Has anybody gone to prison? Have you ever met somebody maybe who was raped in prison? I know they don't brag about it, but I know some people that went to prison, got raped repeatedly, beaten half to death, starved, fed poisonous food, beaten up by guards on a regular basis. Some of them died. Some of them actually died, maybe from sickness or malnutrition or from being beaten so much, came out with brain damage. Has anybody ever had to deal with a relative who went to one of those Joe Biden, Bill Clinton prisons and then came home to your community and was wreaking all kinds of havoc because they are not right in the head? So maybe there's a space, at least a space, where a guy like me can come into a conversation and say, I'm so happy that you saved America. I'm happy for you. I don't even blame you for saving Joe Biden's presidency, but I'd like for you at some point to start having a real conversation. Is it okay for me to say that? Can I say that and still have us be connected and still benefit from one another? Or does it have to become a situation where you are so determined to defend people who hate you that you cannot even have a conversation with people who love you? Please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. We're about to do a little bit of school church today. You guys know you can't come to my platform without us being educated. So I'm about to pull out one of the Bibles. Dr. Claude Anderson has a great book called Black Labor, White Wealth. Everyone should read it. If you go to powernomics.com, that's where you can get a copy of this book. Dr. Anderson is supposed to come on my podcast tomorrow. I'd like for him to also give his perspective as well. So please hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. We got to build black media because we need to have these conversations. Sean King, by the way, I forgot about this. Sean King agreed to come on in 2 days, and Sean and I don't agree on everything, but I'm looking forward to listening to him because I do believe Sean believes in what he's doing, and I would just respect that. Even if we don't agree, I believe in people who believe in what they're doing. So let me read some of this to you. I'm going to read a little bit, and before I read this, I want to make sure we understand a couple of things. Two assumptions that we have to let go of if we're going to be intelligent black people. One is we cannot misconstrue or mistake the fate of black politicians to be connected to the fate of the black community. That the state of a black politician's life is not the same as the state of the entire black community. Black politicians getting elected is not the same as the black community receiving a benefit. That's an important assumption that we have to make sure that we let go of, or it's a false assumption rather, that we have to sort of disabuse that notion in order to move forward, because it is marketed that a win for Raphael Warnock is a win for black people. Well, no, a win for Raphael Warnock is a win for Raphael Warnock. A win for Raphael Warnock is a win for the Democratic Party. It is a win for Morehouse right? And Ebenezer Church even, right? So it's not to say that no black people benefit. It's certainly a win for the black elite. It's a win for Roland Martin, right? It's a win for Stacey Abrams. It's a win for Kamala Harris. It's a win for Joe Biden. But the deeper question becomes, is that a win for the black community? That is yet to be determined. That comes down to what Warnock does with that power. Number two, the second assumption, that a false assumption that I need you to let go of, is this assumption that symbols are the same as substance, that symbolism and substance are the same thing. Symbolism and substance are not the same thing. It doesn't mean that symbolism has no value. Symbols are very important, right? But symbols are not the same as substance. And if you are addicted to too much of one or the other, then you're gonna miss out, right? So with that being said, let me read a little bit. I'm in the book Black Labor, White Wealth, and there's a chart here where Dr. Claude Anderson actually went through the trouble in his book, which is a fascinating book. You got to read it, where he actually he asked this question: does the election of black elected officials or black elected officials winning elections, does that benefit black people? So in this chart, and I wish I could share my screen. I forgot to screenshot this. It's on page 35 in the book Black Labor, White Wealth. He shows this chart where he compares the number of black elected officials to various black socioeconomic conditions. He compares the number of elected officials to the unemployment rate, the incarceration rate, the poverty rate, and per capita income for black people. So in 1964, you might want to pull out a piece of paper and a pencil to write some of this down. In 1964, we had 103 black elected officials, right? And in 1964, the unemployment rate was 10.8%. In 1992, we had 8,000 black elected officials. So that means if you take the original number, multiply it by about 75, it's 75 times higher, you're gonna get 8,000. I think that's 75 times higher, maybe seven. No, yes, about seven, or is it 700? No, 75 times higher. You would get 8,000. So you went from 103 black elected officials to 8,000. The unemployment rate went from 10.8% to 14.6%. So when you had 8,000 black elected officials versus 103, your unemployment rate did not go down. It actually went up. There was more black unemployment after you had 8,000 black elected officials than you had when you just had 103. Let's talk about the incarceration rate. In 1964, you had 103 black elected officials. The incarceration rate was 33%. In 1992, when you had 8,000 black elected officials, the incarceration rate went from 33% up to 45%. So while you're getting more black elected officials, your incarceration rate is actually going up. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no if that makes sense. Yes or no? Does that make sense? Does that mean, is that telling us that more black elected officials is benefiting the black community? Give me a yes or no. I'm trying to speak slowly here. I wish I could just put it on the screen. I probably should have done that, but whatever. We're here now. Okay. Let's also look at the poverty rate. In 1964, when you had 103 black elected officials, the poverty rate was 34% in the black community. In 1992, when you had 8,000 black elected officials, the poverty rate was about the same at 34.4%. So the black poverty rate didn't go up, right? But it did not go down. It remained exactly the same. You got more black elected officials, but black people did not get out of poverty. You did not have fewer black people in poverty, even though you had 8,000 black elected officials. Another piece of data here that's very important for you to pay attention to. In 1964, you had 103 black elected officials. Per capita income for black people as a percentage of whites was 53%. In 1992, with 8,000 elected officials, per capita income for black people as a percentage of whites was 59%. So from 1964 to 1992, which is about 28 years, where you went from 103 black elected officials to 8,000 black elected officials, your per capita income as a percentage of whites went from 53% to 59%. So it did increase slightly, but it didn't increase very much. Also, your wealth levels are actually going down. Black wealth is actually going down. This is a well-cited statistic that basically black people's wealth is kind of disappearing right before our very eyes. It's as a person with a PhD in this stuff, it is like watching a train wreck in very, very, very slow motion, and you're trying to tell everybody this train's going to crash, you need to get off the train. But unfortunately, people are so hypnotized that they can't hear what you're saying. And some of the people are hearing it, they're jumping off the train. A lot of people are just staying on the train, and it's going to be a very slow train crash. And then we're going to go pray to white Jesus as to why these horrible things are happening to us when all the evidence was around you. It's been sitting there for the last 20 or 30 years. So let me So let's move on. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget this podcast is also in audio form. So if you like things like Spotify, you can actually look up the Dr. Boyce Breakdown. There's the URL right there if you just want to go straight to the URL. And you can actually listen to me on Spotify if that's something you'd like to do. Now, just know I'm going to annoy you at least twice a month. Just so you know, I'm going to challenge your thinking at least a couple times a month. And so if you're not interested in that, then don't subscribe. But if you're okay with that, then you can go to the drboycebreakdown.com. Okay, so here's what Dr. Anderson says about Black elected officials. And I want to specifically make this point before I forget that, when you talk about things like reparations being on the agenda, I think that's a great measuring stick to determine if this big trifecta win for the Black community. And I say trifecta because I'm thinking about the big three, Raphael Warnock, Stacey Abrams, and Kamala Harris, right? Everyone's talking about those three. They're all from HBCUs. Kamala went to Howard. Stacey Abrams went to Spelman. Raphael went to Morehouse. And so we're talking about these big three. And Spider-Man's uncle taught us in his movie that with great power comes great responsibility. So now you've been given great power. You've been given all the props. Everyone loves you. And I think that's great. You deserve that. I want you to keep that in your pocket. But at that point, the question becomes, is there going to be accountability coming up the road? One of the reasons I'm very happy to talk to Sean King in a couple of days is because Sean seems like a guy that's actually going to do some of that. And he's going to do it in a way that does overlap the Black community in a significant way. I consider him to be an ally. I know there's controversy. I know some people have questioned certain things. I see the good outweighing the bad. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how this plays out. So just because it hasn't worked in the past doesn't mean it can't work in the future. But I think it's very important that we become politically conscious enough to make sure we know the difference between what's working and what's not working. Okay, so Dr. Anderson says this. He says, voting in publicly held elections is a key source of power in any democratic society. If the voting groups have certain collateral forms of power, but he said, so it's key to power if you have other collateral forms of power. Emancipation and amendments of the Constitution gave Blacks the legal right to vote. Probably the only instance in which Blacks exercise true group power is through block voting. But without wealth, numerical or social accountability powers, voting becomes a weak form of power for Blacks. Voting rights have pacified Blacks by allowing them to make choices, but never decisions. So he makes a distinction between making a choice and making a decision. They can only vote their choice for candidates about whom the dominant white society has already made decisions. So the dominant white society decides what your choices are going to be. They box you in by giving you your choices. And then you make a choice and you feel empowered because you made a choice, but you don't actually consider who made the decision in terms of what box you're going to be put into in order to make that choice, right? So you're picking off the menu, but the question is, who designed the menu, right? Who decided that you got to choose between the Happy Meal and the Burger King Whopper, right? Who decided that, right? And so ultimately, I think that's interesting because I have a lot of people that say, Dr. Boyce, are you a Democrat or a Republican? And I don't even answer that question anymore because the fact that you even asked me that question honestly tells me that you and I are not operating on the same planet or the same plane. We're just in different spaces. It's okay, right? I'm not 22 years old anymore. When I was 22, I believed that stuff. When I was 32, I believed that stuff. And I was pretty smart. I was a professor at 32. I was a faculty member at Syracuse when I was, so I was in the top 1% in intelligence. And even I thought that at the age of 32, but now I'm not 32. Now I'm 49. I have all of that plus 17 years of thinking. So my brain has kind of evolved. So when you come to me and you say something as basic as, are you a Democrat or a Republican? I have to stop myself from getting mad at you, but I have to learn to be patient because I have to remind myself, well, don't forget, Boyce, over 20 years ago, that's the exact same question you would have asked somebody else, right? So remember, there's a difference between making a decision and making a choice. We do it all the time with our kids. I don't know if anybody got kids where you got to play little mind tricks on them to get them to do stuff. And so we'll go to the 11-year-old and we'll be like, okay, so what's it going to be? Do you want to clean your bedroom or clean the bathroom? right? And she'll sit and really think about it and really feel like she's got a choice, when really we haven't given her real choice. We've given her the illusion of choice, because we could have said, she could reply and say, well, I don't want to clean the bathroom or the bedroom. I want to go down the street and play with my friend, right? Well, I want to eat ice cream, right? But ice cream's not on the menu. We got together. Me and her mother got together. We do what the Democrats and Republicans do. We love to play these games with the kids. It's great. This house is not a democracy. It's a dictatorship. So we will have a meeting like, okay, we're going to give them two choices, and we're going to make them believe that these are the only two choices they have, and they're going to pick one, but they're going to feel empowered because we allowed them to choose. So today we're going to eat dinner. Do y'all want Chinese food or Italian food? Right? And they don't know. We've already eliminated McDonald's and Arby's and Applebee's and all that. We decided what we want. And I'm like, I can eat Chinese or Italian. What do you think? Yeah. Okay. So let's give the kids a choice. Right. So the thing is that there's a way that when it comes to politics, there are people that play the game below the rim and people that play it above the rim. Right. And what I really kind of want, at least for the intelligent Black people to do, and this isn't a conversation for everybody, the masses will probably never understand this, is I want to encourage you to play that game above the rim. And so when you're given a choice and someone's forcing you to make a choice, sometimes the best way to make a choice is to make no choice at all. I went through this one time. I was debating with Damon Dash. Damon Dash is I love this guy. He's a great guy, but he has a very strong personality, right? And so he was pressuring me during the interview to answer a question, and I felt like it was a trick question. I did not like the question. He's like, "So what would you do? Would you do that? Would you do that?" And I was like, I had no response. Right? I could have answered, but I was like, no, I have no response. And then he starts coming. He's like, well, come on, man, you got to say something. I'm like, no, I have no response. And really, he didn't understand. In the back of my brain, I was already saying like, I know exactly what you're doing. And like that song, I know what you're doing. Yeah, right. And I'm like, no, you are not going to box me into a decision. Those are two bad choices. I have nothing to say. Right. So this is my point I'm making, is that and some people don't get this. When it comes to the game of politics, there are various ways you can play the game in a way that will empower you, that will keep you from being boxed in. If you're not smart and strategic, then they will box you in. Black people are lab rats, and they are controlling the maze. And you box in a lab rat by shutting off certain sections of the maze and forcing him to go in certain directions. You put the cheese over here if you want him to go that way. You do certain things to incentivize his behavior because the rat can't see outside the maze. He's living in a two-dimensional reality where all he sees is left and right, forward and backward. You're living in a three-dimensional reality because you're looking down at the maze, right? And you see what's coming up for the rat and what to close off and what to actually push him toward. So the problem is that there's some people, and this is almost metaphysical, some of our people unfortunately live on a low vibration frequency where they can't see higher vibrations. They can't see higher dimensions. They're not playing the game above the rim. They're playing a two-dimensional game where they're playing 4, 5, 6-dimensional politics on you, right? So let me move on. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button. I got to tell my brother that I'm going to be a couple minutes late for the meeting because I really want to finish this conversation. So if you'll bear with me and hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button while I tell him that I'm going to be a little bit late, I would appreciate that. And Facebook is so damn slow. It's not even opening up. Crap. Okay. Well, I'll send them the message in a second. All right. So here's what else Dr. Anderson says about voting. He says that without wealth, numerical, or social accountability powers, voting becomes a weak form of power for Blacks. Voting rights have pacified Blacks by allowing them to make choices but never decisions. They can only vote their choice for candidates about whom the dominant white society has already made decisions. The weakness of Blacks' voting power was demonstrated when a white anti-Reconstruction backlash in the South took voting rights from Blacks within a generation after they were granted in the mid-1860s. It took nearly a century to restore Blacks' access to the ballot box. Since the 1960s, Blacks' consistent level of voter participation indicates that they steadfastly believe that their voting power can significantly change their life conditions. And remember, I just showed you data that shows that there's no proof of this. There's no proof. When you look at unemployment rate, incarceration rate, poverty rates, and per capita income, there's no improvement when it comes to Black people voting. There's no connection between voting participation and quality of life. Give me a yes if you understand that point. So the question is, what's going to make that difference? So let's see. With the block vote, blacks may cast the decisive votes that put a candidate into office. This is when we get to brag about saving America, right? But they cannot make that new office holder deliver. Threats can be made, but voting power cannot be exercised outside the ballot box. Since elections are held every 2 to 4 years, the black electorate can be ignored and further damaged by those they put into public office. Blacks' limited income and wealth encourage them to support their political candidates with campaign workers and votes at the ballot boxes. But he who pays the piper calls the tune. Black communities in recent years have failed to use their limited financial power and resources to persuade outside forces to create change inside black communities. One of the most noteworthy times that they did this was the Alabama bus boycott. Beyond a doubt, it was more effective than the ballot box. When money stopped flowing from black to white hands, the white society in Alabama listened and even changed a little. So this is taking us right back to the money, right? This is taking us right back to blackonomics, economics, powernomics, whatever you want to call it. This is taking us right back to how wealth influences politics and elections, right? So anyway, all right, so let me tell them I need a few more minutes. All right, so here's the deal. Let me give you some stats here. Raphael Warnock, who, again, he was supported by Stacey Abrams, who has mentioned that where people say she saved America. Kamala Harris backed him. Congratulations, Raphael Warnock. If you're listening, congratulations. This is not me in any way trying to antagonize or undermine what you're doing. Raphael Warnock, in order to run for Senate, because this race was so contested, had to raise $124 million. He raised $124 million. He spent $101 million in order to get elected. Now, give me a yes or no. Do you think that $124 million, do you think that maybe even half of that is under the control of the black community? Like, do you think that black people gave him at least half of that $124 million? 62 out of the 124. Give me a yes or no. What do you think? What do you think? I don't think that they did. I don't think that they did. So if the black community did not raise that money and that got Raphael into office, and I'm not saying black people didn't give him the votes. Black people certainly gave him the votes. You can't win a vote like that without significant voter energy in Georgia, right? But Georgia there's a lot of black people in the state of Georgia. There's white people too, right? But black folks, the energy that came from the black community is what pushed him over the top. Stacey Abrams was responsible for that. Roland Martin was down there campaigning pretty hard. And but here's the thing, and this is me stepping in as a financial expert. Let me just tell you this: your politics is run by the money. It's not run by the votes. The money matters because the money doesn't just control what the politicians do. The money also controls what the voters do. The reason Raphael Warnock had to raise $124 million to get elected is because they needed that money so they could advertise to you, so they could do voter campaigns to convince you to show up to the polls. They spent the money on ad agencies and media outlets and people that would go out in the community and knock on people's doors, right? And so ultimately, it was a marketing campaign. Most voter drives are pretty corporate marketing campaigns. Now, if I'm Raphael Warnock, right? So you're Raphael Warnock, and you know that $124 million pretty much is what took you over the hump. As smart as he is, as amazing as Raphael Warnock might be, he couldn't have gotten elected with even $50 million wouldn't have been enough, right? So I'm Raphael Warnock. I need that $124 million to get elected because $124 million will buy me the votes I need in order to get into office. Who am I going to take care of first? Who am I going to serve the most? Am I going to serve the people that voted for me, the people who were pretty much pawns, who were just convinced because the marketing campaigns were good? Or am I going to pay the puppet master? Who do you give allegiance to, the puppet or the puppet master? Right? Because when you're marketed to and you make decisions because the marketing experts have figured out how to trigger your behavior and how to convince you to take action, right? You are just a pawn in the game. They've just simply taken you're looking over here. They run a campaign. They're like, hey, look over here. Hey, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, booty to the polls, y'all. Souls to the polls. Okay, I'm going to my march. Right. So we're responding to marketing. Black people respond heavily to marketing. That's why Nielsen is a multi-billion-dollar company, because Nielsen, among other things, has done extensive research to basically come to the conclusion that Black people are heavily influenced by marketing. White people too, though. White people too, but Black people especially. Right. So because we're still trying to find out who we are. So if you're Raphael Warnock and you know that the money is what drove the whole conversation, right? The money is what drove all your possibilities. You're going to take care of the money people first. Right. And that's why. So that's why it's important to pay close attention to what these senators do. Like, for example, Joe Biden, one of the bills he pushed through was this bill on and we know the Republicans do this type of stuff all the time. Like the Republicans, we know that they're all about the corporations and the big money and all that. Like Mitch McConnell, there's a whole long list of crap you can say about Mitch McConnell. But Mitch McConnell's not in the hood trying to get the Black vote. Mitch McConnell, from what I checked, did not do a single booty to the polls ad or go to any Black churches to try to get Black folks to vote. So I'm not really talking about Mitch. Now, if Mitch starts getting a lot of Black votes, I'll talk about him. But I'm talking about the people that are coming to my community, asking me to vote for them, and then having me have to explain to my relatives why I'm choosing not to participate. So Joe Biden passed a bill that basically made it illegal for you to write your student loans off if you declare bankruptcy. So that means if you go bankrupt, you can write off all your debts except your student loans. Your student loans are pretty much one of the few debts that will stay with you beyond the grave. If you die tomorrow, from what I understand, I'm not a lawyer here, but from what I understand, they will come to your grave site and come to your estate and take the money out of your butt after you're gone. You can't even die and get away from your student loans. What would make Joe Biden as a senator push so hard for that legislation? I ask you that question, thinking people only. Do you think he did it because the American people that voted for him overwhelmingly demanded that they be held accountable on their student loans? Do you think that he did it because he was getting so many letters from school teachers in Iowa saying, I just really need you to pass a law that says that I can never write off my student loans? Or do you think that the corporations that funded his campaign told him, we'll take care of you, but you got to take care of us. So we need your support on this bill. The lobbyists. That's what I'm saying here. So the money drives the politics, and I think that's very important to understand. And so the question becomes, how do we become radical enough as a community or as individuals or as a people to push the envelope a little bit, to kind of push the conversation? It's one of those things where you get this mixed bag because the big marketing message is that people like me are supposed to be super happy because a Black person got elected and another Black person's getting credit for saving America. And I don't want to be a hater. I don't want to go pee in the lemonade. Like, Black folks love to drink that sweet Kool-Aid, but sometimes the Kool-Aid's already got some pee in it. I'm not trying to add to the pee in the lemonade. I want you to enjoy the lemonade. But the question is, how do we have an honest conversation without creating the division that's only going to make us weaker as a community, that's only going to repeat the devastating cycles that have already existed? How do we talk about this in a way where we're not going to have the same crap happen over the next 40 years that we've had over the last 40 years, where we get Democrat after Democrat after Democrat after Democrat? Raphael ain't the first one. Kamala ain't the first one. Stacey ain't the first one. They're just the latest. That's what they represent. How do we move forward with something different? How do we even, for example, even get to where we can even have a damn conversation about reparations? Give me a yes or no in the chat. It may be Kamala's watching, because I saw Hillary Clinton was actually on my email list. I saw an email, literally, it was Hillary@hillaryclinton.com. I said, oh, Hillary's watching. Okay. All right, well, let's see how this goes. But so in case Kamala's watching, give me a yes or no. How many of you support reparations? Let's do a straw poll amongst intelligent Black people. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you support reparations for descendants of slavery. Not reparations. Gay people, y'all can get y'all's reparations later. And some of y'all are Black and gay, so you get double. You get two reparations checks. So if they ever pass a reparations check for LGBT, I'm not even gonna get in the way of that. I don't even care, right? Because that's not me, but that might be you, and that's okay. We love you, right? But seriously, I'm not talking about reparations for people coming from across the border. You're from Mexico. You got a government. You have a whole country that has trillions of dollars in wealth that they can actually apply to giving you what you deserve. I'm not talking about reparations for white women. White women, y'all got white men. White men been paying y'all reparations for hundreds of years. I'm talking about reparations for descendants of slavery. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you support reparations for descendants of slavery. I'm seeing nothing but yeses. I see no no's in the building. Why is that important? Why did I ask that very simple question? I asked that question because I want to ask another question. If Black people as a community are overwhelmingly asking for deep conversations about the trillions of dollars in reparations we are owed, and Black politicians are being elected on the back of the Black community after Black people consistently save America, why are none of these Black politicians who claim to represent the Black community not speaking about the issue that Black people are talking about the most? What kind of husband could I be to my future wife if every time I did something for her, I never ever once asked her, baby, what do you want from me? Every time I show up and I say, I love you so much. You know what I did for you, baby? I did something real. What'd you do for me, baby? I got you a new vacuum cleaner. It is the best vacuum cleaner ever. So you can vacuum twice a day now, right? Or babe, I love you so much. I want to give you a gift. Well, what gift did you give me, baby? I can't wait to see it. I got you a big screen TV so we can watch all the NFL games every Sunday. Ain't you happy? Right? How stupid would I look if every time it came time for me to do something for my wife, I only got stuff that I wanted and never once even asked her what she wanted? I'm buying new brooms, new vacuum cleaners. I'm getting all my favorite food. I'm getting a big screen TV. I told her, baby, we got a new car that I'm gonna give you the free time to go and put gas in the car so I can go see my side chick, right? I want you, babe, you're gonna help me pay for the car that I'm gonna use to go see the side chick. So we're going to be happy because I get to see the side chick 3 times a week now instead of once a month, right? Whatever, right? So it would be stupid. But that's pretty much what you're getting in politics. When you hear the masses asking for one thing and they're giving you a bunch of crap you didn't even ask for, then that tells you they're operating on a whole different agenda. So I'm just trying to get you to the point where you'll at least consider that we need to stop getting into identity politics as the ultimate measuring stick of whether or not you are truly on my team. Just because you look like me, don't mean that me and you have a lot in common if you operating on a whole nother situation, right? It doesn't mean that we can't be connected in other spaces. So, for example, when I see a Raphael Warnock, we have a lot in common. Okay, you're a Morehouse man. I respect Morehouse. Morehouse man, good school. You preach at a Black church. Black church. My daddy's a pastor too. What? That's cool. That's great. We're from the Black community. That's awesome, right? You have a Black family. Well, so do I. Yeah, that's cool. Let's get our families together. But when you go to work, we might not have nothing in common anymore, right? When you get on your job, if you're working at Burger King, right? And when you are on the clock, you're not trying to be Boyce's friend. You're trying to be a Burger King employee. So even if I walk into Burger King and I'm like, man, I'm hungry, man. Can you get me some food? And Burger King has a strict policy that says if you get caught giving away food, you're going to lose your job. Then you're going to let me starve. You're going to be like, hey, man, I'm sorry. I wish I could help you, but I can't do nothing for you because I'm on the clock with Burger King. So a lot of your politicians are on the clock with Burger King. A lot of your politicians, they might love you when they're off the job. Right? They might really be cool with you at the family barbecue. They might go to the same church as you, went to the same HBCU as you, come from the same city as you, come from the hood like you. But when they get on the clock at Burger King, they are not your friend as much as they are Burger King employees. Their agenda is Burger King's agenda because they're trying to keep that damn job. So when they're on the clock of the Democratic Party is Burger King. Well, the Democrats, if you call them and say, I need something, I need reparations, and the Democratic Party says, you bet not give nobody no reparations or you're going to get fired, they're not going to listen to you. They're going to listen to the party. They're going to listen to the money. They're going to listen to their bosses. They're going to listen to the overseer. They are not going to listen to you. They're going to talk to you after they get off work. after they get off work. So I need you to understand the difference. I heard Kamala Harris say something that really made me a little bit sad, because I really wanted to like Kamala Harris. Because I think, by the way, I think she's actually kind of a pretty lady. She's very smart, very hardworking, very ambitious. I can respect all those things. I think me and Kamala would have like the best conversation ever, as long as we didn't talk about politics and we weren't at work. Like when she takes off the Burger King uniform, I bet she's like the coolest lady in the world. When she's at Burger King, I'm not gonna mess with her. I'm gonna let her go to work and do her job. But Kamala Harris, when she was asked on the grill about reparations for Black people, she specifically said, it's not like I'm going to specifically do something for Black people. And a lot of people were very disappointed when she said that. It kind of made them a little bit sad, because, and I thought about it, right? It took me about 3 months and 4 days and 8 hours to come up with this conclusion. Kamala, I thought about it. I said, ain't this some shit? Okay, so you're telling me you're not going to specifically do anything for Black people, which is a problematic statement enough. But when you go deeper, it's even more problematic. So because you went out of your way to specifically tell me that you're specifically gonna not do anything specifically for Black people. So you are very specific in your rejection of Black people, but can't be equally specific in your support of Black people. Like, you went out of your way to make sure that you specifically told us that you're specifically not going to specifically do anything for us. So you give us specific rejection, but not specific support. You give us specific hate, but not specific love. Like, slavery was very specific. There's a whole chapter in Dr. Claude Anderson's book. I kid you not. You got to read Black Labor, White Wealth. You can get it on powernomics.com. There's a whole chapter where Dr. Anderson specifically explains why Black people were specifically targeted for slavery. They didn't say we're going to enslave all the gay people. They didn't say we're going to enslave the Native Americans. They didn't say we're going to enslave everybody that's coming up across the border from Mexico. They said we're specifically going to enslave Black people with black skin. And he explains why. It had to do with little things like Native Americans knew how to get around. Like, they knew the terrain, so they could run away and hide. Black people didn't know where they were going because we came from Africa. Another one, we have dark skin. We're easily identifiable in a crowd. Like, there he is, right? Whereas if you're not Black, you can kind of blend in, whatever. Right. Another one was that Native Americans just they had, I remember saying too, they had some balls that some of us didn't have. Like, they were like, you can try to enslave me if you want to, but you're going to have to watch your back every second of the day, because when you're sleeping, I'll probably cut your throat, and I'll also keep running away until I am dead. Like I will be the most difficult slave that you've ever met. Whereas some of us, we were, for whatever reason, easily trained to be very submissive. Maybe religion was used to do that. There were there was a very systematic process that was used to specifically ensure that we were specifically committed to slavery. And you see the after effects all over the place. We are very specific today to specifically brag about how we saved America and how we're saving white people, but we specifically go out of our way to torture and attack any Black person who simply asks a basic question like, well, what's in it for us? Right? Think about this. The fact that, the people that had an issue with what Ice Cube was doing could have sat back and just let it unfold. They could have sat back and did nothing. They could have just watched it all play out and said, well, good luck. I don't know if it's going to work out. They didn't do that. They specifically went out of their way to specifically line up, suit up, put on the armor and pull out the sword and say, boss, we gonna get him, boss. We go, right? You specifically went out of your way to go kill this Black man who's trying to help you. What's wrong with you? What mental illness do you have? What medication do you need to be on that you think it makes sense for you to specifically go out of your way to attack this man who's doing nothing but saying, what's in it for us? Some of these people, I don't know what to do with them. I just don't. We need therapy, man. I probably do too. Racism makes all of us crazy. There's no question about it. I just think it's very sad to watch. Very sad to watch. Those are my thoughts for today. I might have more thoughts later, and when I do, I'm gonna tell you exactly what's on my mind. Again, no disrespect to Raphael Warnock, Stacey Abrams, Kamala Harris, or any of your favorite superheroes. I want to have a thorough and complete, intelligent conversation that is, at the end of the day, this is one area that I'm always going to go, is I'm always going to say at the end of the day, what's in it for us? If we can answer that question, then I am good. So Sean King will be on in a couple of days. Dr. Claude Anderson should be on tomorrow. I haven't heard back from him yet, but I'm hoping to hear from him soon. Today, later on drboystv.com, I'm also bringing in the father of Victory Boyd. Victory Boyd's father, John Boyd. He works actually very closely with Kanye West. We're not going to talk a lot about Kanye, though, but we're going to talk about what his family's got going on, because actually his daughter, Victory, is one of the greatest singers I've ever heard. Alicia and I invited her to their whole family to sing at our wedding. And Victory is she's famous now. Like, she's a big shot now. She went and sang for Jay-Z, and he just fell in love with her voice like instantly and signed her like right on the spot. And so but what I love about this family is that they are very, very pro-Black. I met Victory because her father went out of his way to bring Victory to one of our events that we had in Baltimore. And when she sang, I mean, she blew the socks off of everybody in the room. But what was important to me was that this strong Black father was actually going out of his way to make sure that even as his children became super famous and got wrapped up in the entertainment world, they never lost sight of who they are. They will always be one Black first. So he's actually going to come on later on today on drboystv.com. I encourage you to come check it out. He's a really smart Black man. So if you could, please do me a quick favor. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button before you go. Make sure you subscribe to something. Hit the notification bell. You can also text the word BOYCE to 31996 to get text notifications. Some of you got text notifications today. Text BOYCE to 31996. Also, today's the last day if you want to sign up for the Black Wealth Bootcamp. We start the Black Wealth Bootcamp tomorrow. It's all about economic solutions that reduce your dependence on the corporate plantation. If you're interested in that kind of thing, feel free to join us, blackwealthbootcamp.com. You can go take a look at the URL and see if you like it. It's a 6-week program. It's very, very good, very, very popular. It's a lifetime membership, so you have access. You and your family have access forever. So blackwealthbootcamp.com. I'm out of here, guys. Thank you for listening. God bless you. I'll see you soon. Have a good day. Peace.
Here we are, clearing the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boys TV. Here we are.